So during the time that Psychic Frog was legal, we basically saw fair creature type decks like goblins, humans, merfolk, traditional elves completely disappear. So, how do they feel now that Psychic Frog and Vexing Bauble have been banned? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today I want to see what a mono-white humans deck feels like in Legacy. And Edison gave me a dealer's choice donation deck list that is funding this video, so Edison, thank you very much. Now, this is a very slightly edited version of a deck that I found from a small tournament in Sweden. In case you haven't played or seen a humans deck before, because it's not super common in Legacy, you essentially want to take advantage of the human type and you want to play various lords that buff up your humans in some capacity or give them additional offensive or defensive properties. And there are a couple of humans in particular that have the ability to really play well into that synergy. Adeline is a little expensive for legacy purposes at 3 mana, but it survives Lightning Bolt while also making more humans that grows its own power and potentially gives you other synergy with your humans that grow when you play other humans. So I made very few changes to this deck list. The main deck had 4 Mutavaults, which I thought was a little bit greedy. This is running 21 lands and having 6 of those being colorless having 8 of those be colorless probably means that you miss out on white a decent portion of the time to play these creatures on curve. So I substituted 2 Mutavaults for 2 Witch Enchanters, which are humans for the payoffs that this deck has to offer. And then I just updated the sideboard a little bit. One thing that I want to try out is I want to see how Rest in Peace feels in this current metagame. It felt like the previous metagame, like this was just not a viable card to play. You know, you needed your Fairy Macabres, you needed your Surgical Extractions, you needed your things that were just available immediately. And as we shift into this new metagame, I'm seeing more Nethergoyfs, I'm seeing more Dragon's Rage Channelers, I'm seeing more Murktide Regents than we saw previously. And I wonder if just having Rest in Peace, where I might not board in Leyline of the Void, is just going to cover a bunch of things really well and make it so that I can use my removal spells on other cards instead. You know, this is going to nuke Murktide, DRC, Barrogoyf, Nethergoyf. Like, this is going to do a lot of work conceptually. And the question is, like, is this just going to be fast enough versus some of the combo decks that are in the format? There's still a lot of Oops All spells running around in leagues, for example, and challenge results at that as well. Maybe the only sus card in the sideboard is the Pithing Needle. This should maybe be Displacer Flute, but this deck as it was built was running 21 lands, which is a little low. The curve is pretty low to the ground here compared to traditional D&T, so you might be able to get away with it. And I just erred on the side of playing something that interacts earlier, which is a lot of what I was trying to do in my sideboard construction here. You know, these are turn 0 or turn 1 interactions versus various combo decks of the format. Still think we're just going to get absolutely fucking bodied by Nadu. I don't think there is a lot to be done there. So I think we're going to hope to dodge that one. Or, you know, maybe we incidentally shut off Green Sun. Or maybe we incidentally get to blow up a Shuko. I think that's kind of about the best that we can hope to do here. So let's see if we get bodied. I would consider a 3-2 league to be wildly successful with a deck that looks like this one. You know, if we could come up positive in a league while playing something that was previously fully unplayable, that is probably a good sign. Folks, if you need any of these cards, take it to your local F&M or whatever events you're playing over this holiday season. Please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Tales of Adventure is an awesome store. Whether you need standard staples, they've got 95% or so of that stuff in stock at any time. Or if you need old sweet cards for Legacy, they've got that too. Promo code ThrabenU saves you a bit on your order, and you always get free shipping. With that being said, let's battle. All right, my opening hand is fine. I do have 2 lands plus a vial. I believe that the Vial is worth playing. Oddly, sometimes Legacy hands end up being better if you don't play the Aether Vial, just because of raw speed concerns. But I think being able to just vomit a ton of stuff into play over the next 2 turns is going to be worth doing this here. So I probably give up 2 damage over the course of this game by doing this. Which Enchanter tapped? Or which Enchanter untapped to play around Daze? I think I like playing around Daze. It cost me 3 life to do so. So overall plan here is champion is bait so that mom lives, and then we have a bunch of humans that are going to come in off of Aether Vial. I am unsure whether or not I will actually cast a card next turn. It is very possible that I will just play around like Daze and Force of Will and just dump things in over time. The Tomic coming down sooner would be nice because it protects my lands from Wasteland, but I can probably do that off of Vial. Current question is whether or not my opponent's deck is Grixis or just straight blue-black. We might find out right here, but this is not a guaranteed. Oh, shit. So my champion is going to live and my Mother of Runes is going to live. This is unexpected. So we're maybe now more scared of just Entomb Reanimate or something like that that ends up overpowering what I am doing here. Champion is going to hit really fucking hard. Okay, with this land, I'm pretty sure that I cast a card this turn. I think it's Thalia's Lieutenant, and we'll get to do a cute little thing here. I'm going to cast a Thalia's Lieutenant. All right, it resolves. Now, with its own trigger on the stack, I'm going to activate Aether Vial. I'm going to put in a Tomic. So now, with this original Thalia's Lieutenant trigger, I can put a counter on an additional creature that I otherwise might not have been able to do. And I am also growing Thalia's Lieutenant with Tomic entering play. So this is now very aggressive, and I have Mom held back to protect my stuff so it's not dying. My opponent needs to do something very unfair here. Fair stuff is probably not going to cut it. Now, in case you're not super familiar with the wording of Adeline, Adeline is whenever you attack, not when Adeline attacks. Oh. Now I only have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage in play, not counting Mom. Oh no. Entomb plus Reanimate? Nope. Baleful Strix. That does not matter. Mathematically speaking, I probably leave Vial on 2. Get Guide of Souls, so I will cast that to grow my humans. Well, to grow 2 of them, more accurately. That is a Force of Will pitching a Daze. So if I attack all out, I deal 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, not lethal. If I give protection, I deal 5, 6, 7, not lethal. So we'll just send in, send in, send in. My opponent takes the obvious block. We'll just save it from Baleful Strix. My opponent is at 4. At this point, removal spells are on, but, like, I have 4 creatures in play, any 2 of which, including Mom, are lethal. Wasteland. Go for the throat on Mom. That's fine. Opponent needs more removal than just this to continue to be alive. So I will cast a Mother of Runes. We'll grow 2 of my creatures, assuming it resolves, which I imagine it is. Alright, so grow and grow. So my opponent could Orcish Bowmaster here, ping Mom, block 2 of these, go to 1. Looks like that is what's happening, but I don't actually care about that. Like, Mom dying means that this is not dying. Opponent's at 1, so fetch lands are off. My opponent needs to answer all 3 of these creatures. They will have 2 cards to do so. Do we see Daze? We did see Daze. We pick up a pretty effortless win there. So we don't know what most of my opponent's creature suite looks like. We've seen Strix, which indicates at least some tendency to want to go towards the mid game. We've seen Go for the Throat as a 2 mana removal option rather than just fully Fatal Pushes at 1 mana. I think I am always playing Path to Exile, and I think I am considering Rest in Peace. Containment Priest is probably not necessary unless I see Reanimate specifically. think I'm going to board that out and replace that with Rest in Peace. Then I want 2 more removal spells. You an X1? You are an X2. Thalia is an X1. Thalia dies to Bowmasters. Might want to board down on Thalia. I'm also going to be boarding up 4 non-creature spells. That seems reasonable. I still have a creature count of a whopping 29, 27 if I don't count Witch Enchanter, so this still seems fine. Yeah, this seems fine. And I'm assuming that Rest in Peace is good. I have not seen very much of my opponent's creature suite. I think it's going to be fine. I like this hand. This hand does not necessarily go turbo, but this hand does not lose to Wasteland. This hand has Aether Vial as like counterspell or interaction bait. Have a removal spell. I have some degree of protection and a 1-2-3 curve. This seems fine. Hey, or the Rest in Peace that I boarded in. Now, notably, this one only counts my opponent's graveyard. It does not count my own graveyard. Mutavault is not really what I'm looking for in the short term. I think I just want to not be wastelandable in the short term. All right, so there's the interaction bait that I was talking about. Now we can have some choices about, like, how I try to play the remainder of this game in terms of playing around stuff. I get hit for 3-ish this turn. I could technically get hit for 4 if something like a bobble happens. I would like to play this game in a way where Witch Enchanter does not deal me 3 points of damage. Might mean playing Guide of Souls next turn. I mean, this is Dazeable or Force of Willable, but damn, is it good here. Let's expose Mutavault to Wasteland and attempt to jam Rest in Peace. Damn it. I mean, this is just classic getting Delvered, right? Like, my opponent has a 3-power creature that they have backed up with 2 copies of Daze. I have a Brutal Cathar to potentially answer it next turn. But this is where, like, Wasteland can come down the pipeline and be annoying. It doesn't happen, but another one of those is rough. Yeah, damn, that Rest in Peace would have been really, really good. Is it reasonable to double Guide of Souls on this turn? I don't think it is. I think I need to take some power off the board. I think I need to prolong this game. So now this is a temporary exile, notably. So if my opponent just, fatal pushes this or whatever, they will get their creature back. But I think fogging those couple of points of damage does, like, very, very much matter. All right, I will take 3 damage. That's fine. And it is a fair Curie. So I could do some sort of pass the turn line to get a first striker that can wall this. I don't know that that makes sense. I can double Coppercoat Vanguard. I think this is the turn where I try to stack up Guide of Souls. I think I am in trouble, but I think this gives me a decent shot. So now combat is going to get a little weird because Curie can exile a Nethergoyf to produce a Fury that can draw cards. Okay, cool. That's not happening, so I don't have to worry about that as a mid-combat trick. I still have to worry about, like, Fatal Push. Oh yeah, please don't attack. Okay, cool. So now I might be transitioning into a beatdown role with Guide of Souls. I'll Coppercoat Vanguard. So now my things have 2 instances of Ward. So yeah. Now if I attack with a creature, it trades with Baleful Strix. But that's not true next turn. Because next turn I have Mother of Runes active. Yeah, I think I chill for a turn cycle. And we'll see if my opponent goes for a Surveil land. And they do. Yes, Curie can become a copy of a Baleful Strix. So let's make a mana and turn this into a creature for funsies, huh? Womp womp. The new Goyf. Okay, so we're staring at each other. Ooh, Caracas bounces Curie out of the way. That's not nothing. So I will bounce Curie. Curie becomes a copy of Baleful Strix that no longer gets bounced. Okay, so my Caracas activation killed a Baleful Strix. That is fine with me. Send it. Send it. Don't attack with these, because they're not the best on the ground. Yeah, so let's send these in. The first one, I will say yes. Put some counters on the left one. Second one, I'll say yes. I'll put some counters on the right one. Is 10 incoming damage, so my opponent almost certainly blocks. Well, I'm wrong. My opponent just outright takes 10. Passes the turn. I didn't cast a spell, so I turn this into a first striker. Sort of annoyingly, it's not a human, so I lose my buffs on it. So my opponent is going to just take a draw off of Curie Bird, which is fine and good. Like, that has now just replaced the Baleful Strix that they already exiled. Land drop. If they cast 2 spells, I do this thing. Okay. I have 1 energy currently. And we win the match. I wonder if my opponent wins this one if they continue to attack and pressure my life total more. I think those couple of turns of staring at each other favored me more than it did my opponent. From my opponent's point of view, they might have been like trying to just set up a point where they draw a bunch of cards with Curie and overwhelm me, but that did not end up happening. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and honestly, they're just the best at what they do. If you need to keep your deck lists online, this is the way to do it. They have all sorts of different viewing options. You can condense that text if you like things to be tight. You can make them visual grids. You can put them in stacks. You've got all sorts of different ways to kind of view and visualize your deck lists, and they also have some really cool functionality, like allowing you to see playtest hands and even fully playtest your decks. So check them out. All right, my opening hand has a little bit too much mana here, but 4 of these things have utility beyond just tap for white. I think this is fine overall. This is the sort of hand where if I get to do my 1-drop into my 2-drop and just start hitting really hard and things go my way, I think we're okay. But if my opponent starts interacting with me, I might fall behind pretty quickly. Basic Island probably means that my stuff's living. Okay. Versus Basic Island, I think one of these becomes a land first. And we're going to just try to scale up our creatures. One of these Witch Enchanters can become a creature. If my opponent is playing a combo deck like Show and Tell, I do have a Caracas or a Witch Enchanter that I can put in. Like, there was no turn 1 cantrip here. Multiple Basic Islands could be High Tide. Okay. We are definitely in the combo ballpark. That was bottom. Comic's not bad. I think I'm going to show Caracas and intend to put Witch Enchanter in off of Show and Tell. Okay, we do hit play. I'm hitting for 6. Opponent goes to 11. I hit for 9 next turn, so we're getting into the range where I am starting to shut off the fetch lands. Yeah, that is a 3rd fucking Basic Island. Ooh. Alright. I think we're dead. 4, 7, 8, 9. I can make it 10 by playing this. I mean, I will make it 10 because I think we're about to die. So yeah. So we will grow champion. Fuck, I think we're 1 point of life short on this one. The opponent's at 1. And they are about to do something like Thassa's Oracle or Jace Wielder of Mystery to win the game here. They don't have any agency versus that. This only can remove things in combat, and my opponent has 0 cards in library anyway. So I want things that blow up artifacts and enchantments here. So these are coming in. Swords to Plowshares probably doesn't matter that much. It has some Text versus Laboratory Maniac style cards. I just don't want that. And Parallax Wave. No, Parallax Wave is the white one. Thought Lash. Thought Lash, I think, is what I'm thinking of. Yeah, so we can put Pithing Needle on Thought Lash to stop one of these potential combos. And that's also something that just fogs me. Do I want Rest in Peace? Paradigm Shift shuffles in the graveyard. Shuffles the graveyard into library. So if I play Rest in Peace, that is a way to guarantee that my opponent does not have something to shuffle in, so they need to win immediately that turn. That might be better than just playing Brutal Cathar. Although Rest in Peace is not super impactful here. 1-drop into 2-drop into weak interaction. These probably aren't relevant. This is not my ideal hand. I don't know that I mulligan a hand that has white, and 3 playable cards, though. This is less aggressive than my previous hand, unfortunately. That one was 1 point of life short. I think I can try to believe in the top of the deck, though. Opponent's got a Lotus Petal and then passes the turn. Guide of Souls. I think I do that next turn because I can play like Rest in Peace and Guide of Souls. And I think I just optimize for damage here rather than playing the very situational Rest in Peace. All right. We're attacking for 2. 18. No end of turn play from my opponent there. Ancient Tomb. It is a Thought Lash, so now my opponent can go and prevent damage from my fair creatures. That's not great for me. And they can now remove their library from play at will. So I don't need to play Rest in Peace anymore. Just doesn't do anything. I just need to put as much power onto the board as I can to make it so that my opponent has to exile more cards. This is why we've boarded in the Lauren and the Cathars, not Brutal Cathar, Cathar Commando. There we go. All right, so they exile 1. Oh, they just took the damage on the turn rather than preventing immediately with Thought Lash. Cycle Lorien revealed. So at any point from here on out, you know, Hardcast Thassa's Oracle is just a win. Wasteland doesn't do anything. I'm going to tick Vial up to 2 probably and leave it there. Second copy of Rest in Peace is insult to injury here. Send in. Okay, opponent is just going to take this. I will play a Rest in Peace. Again, this does not do much here. Cycling another Lorien revealed. Those basic islands my opponent have. Keep them immune to Wasteland. We have not randomly exiled any Thassa's Oracles yet. That is a Spell Seeker, so my opponent now gets to tutor. Alright, they're just taking a cantrip. They're grabbing an Impulse, which is fine. I'll take up my Vial. That is not a creature that immediately impacts the board. My opponent will need to start Thought Lashing away cards, and they are going to do that. One of the Thassa's Oracles is now gone. Interesting. Opponent still has Flusterstorm in against me. I'll play a Mutavault. I think I just leave Rest in Peace in hand and leave some fear in my opponent's heart. Thought Lash now junks 3 cards. Nothing of note there. Battle. Impulse. Every cantrip is 3 to 4 looks at an immediate win, unfortunately. Gabber and I will Wasteland, given the opportunity. Ooh, I get the opportunity. I will Wasteland that immediately in case my opponent randomly decides that they would like to do something else with that mana in a minute. That is Wizard Cycling. That gets a Thassa's Oracle. I need to answer the Thought Lash on my turn, or I lose. I will be leaving this at 2. Caracas has no text here. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Easily negated by Thought Lash, and then my opponent casts Thassa's Oracle, and I die. GG. That did not line up well for us. Alright, to make this hand really pop off, I am going to need 1 more white mana specifically into draw steps. But I think I have a pretty good plan for this game. Now, this plan could line up poorly versus some decks, like Mom, Thalia, Wasteland. Like, it is a real plan, and we'll just see how it works out. Now, I don't think I get to play Mom and Wasteland. I think since I have 2 Thalias, I lead on Thalia now. It's a little hard to tell what my opponent is playing off of Fatal Push Bayou. Like, this could be a blue pile, in which case slamming the Thalia is very good, or it could just be a green-black creature pile, in which case playing the Thalia is not that good. Ooh. Well, there's that extra land I wanted. I like the idea of going down the mana denial line, but I think I need to play the Adeline while I still have access to 3 mana. And I think I Wasteland the following turn, while potentially doing like Mom plus Swords to Plowshares. 2 mana. Ooh, wow. Fatal Push on Thalia rather than Adeline. Is there going to be a second removal spell here? No, a Tameo. This is going to be a really good turn for me. So I will remove Tameo. I will play Mother of Runes. I will Wasteland Bayou. I will go to combat. I will attack for 4, which is actually going to become 5 as Adeline scales up. Wait, does it enter tapped and attacking? Okay, so it's actually 6 damage. And then I can Thalia on my next turn as well. All right. Ponder potentially finds that land. And my opponent concedes. So it looks like maybe some sort of bug mid-range deck. I'm going to assume that Rest in Peace is good in some capacity, but I don't know exactly how yet. And I don't know whether or not I want some of this stuff. So if my opponent is playing a bunch of large creatures, Path is probably good. But if it ends up being more like planeswalker-y type stuff, that's less good. Rest in Peace might have a lot of collateral damage on Nether Goyfs, Borrow Goyfs, Murktide Regents, that sort of stuff. Maybe even splash damage on something like Murderous Cut if my opponent is on Beans. Before I know that they're on Beans, I don't think I play this stuff. I think I'm going to sub Containment Priest for Rest in Peace and not sideboard any further from there. But I have a lot of options for Game 3 if I lose Game 2. This is a solid 6-card hand. We'll just see how this plays out here. Ooh, that makes it even better. We will still lead on the basic. Are you just surveilling? Or are you actually interacting with this? Yeah. I was going to say, I would be slightly surprised to see something like Spell Pierce from my opponent in a post-sideboard game. So you fetched, now what? Ooh, it is Witherbloom command. So we are seeing Murktide Regents. I have found another Aether Vial. I think this game is going to go long enough that this has value in doing. It doesn't seem like my opponent has counter spells. That's good information. And we'll just kind of see where this goes from here. We know about Murktide and Tamiyo as of right now. Okay, it is Beans. So I will have some sideboard adjusting to do. That's nice to put in. I think I'm into just constraining my opponent's mana here a little bit. And then we probably do the Thalia's Lieutenant trick next turn. Alright, it is Murktide Regent. This Murktide Regent is much less of a problem if I untap with Mother of Runes. It's not a problem, but it's less of a problem if I get active Mom. Oh. Yep. Now Vial goes up to 2. I mean, yeah. We will do the Thalia's Lieutenant trick that we did before, where with this trigger on the stack, we put in a second one. And then we're gonna just stack up +1/+1 counters on my stuff. I don't have a valid attack this turn. Hopefully I will next turn. I could put in Tomic this turn to save the Siganjo from Wasteland, but I don't actually care about it, is the thing. It's a tapped Mystic Sanctuary and Witherbloom command. They get back Misty Rainforest. I take a bunch of damage. Alright. Well, hand kind of plays itself at this point. I guess let's not always yield to those, because sometimes they matter. So I'm going to clock back for 7. We're getting 1 or 2 blocks here. We're getting 1 block here. Sure. There is a Tamiyo. This is the second draw. Cantrip will be the third draw to transform this. This is a bit of an annoying distraction here, because this is threatening to get back Fatal Push next turn. We'll see whether or not Murktide is going to continue to attack in. It is. So I think I leave back Tomic in an attempt to trade Tomic with Murktide Regent. Tomic and a Ganjo for Murktide Regent. I think that's my plan. My creatures shrink. I succeed in dealing 2 damage to Tamiyo. Now I'm sitting here thinking about this Wasteland. I think I'm using it, since Tomic is currently protecting me from my own Wasteland. Sorry. But like, if something happens to Tomic pre-combat and I get Wastelanded, I can't actually interact with my opponent's stuff. I think I'm going to not Wasteland. Opponent might have another Surveil land. We'll find out. Nope. Alright, Tamiyo pluses. Oh geez. That's so very many cards. That's a draw 5. So now what? That's not great. So now the Aganjo plan fails. And I need to draw an answer to Murktide Regent or I die. That is not an answer to Murktide Regent. That in fact makes Murktide Regent better as of right now. Dead. Alright, so now we know we're playing against Beans. So things that answer enchantments become fine, and I'll reconsider Path to Exile as, like, most of the time when I die, I'm going to die to a large Murktide Regent, so just stopping that from happening is actively good. I could also Pithing Needle for Tamiyo's backside, but I think at that point I'm probably cutting too many creatures. Pilar Command is an X1, which is inconvenient. I think I will be cutting Thalia's as X1 creatures that die to Bowmaster. Even if I cut another creature, I will still have a creature count. That's pretty darn good. My 1-drop X1 creatures are probably fine still. My opponent just has Witherbloom Command that incidentally takes out Vial. I could also go this route and just resolve to keep land heavier hands because I have fewer lands overall, and then keep 2 Thalias. That is perhaps reasonable. So this is a handful of good stuff. Very good stuff, but I don't have the second land to make it work. Rest in Peace is very, very strong in this matchup, but I don't think I can keep this. I'm being punished for my hubris in boarding out Vials. Notably, none of these cards would have been Vials. I think I keep this hand, though. I think the upside is very, very high here. Probably getting rid of Tomic. The million-dollar question is then, like, which creature do you lead on? I think it's Mom. Like, oh, wow. That is an aggressive Force of Will. Okay, I hit the second land drop. I think I'm going to play Rest in Peace immediately. My opponent has just used a Force of Will, so this Rest in Peace probably sticks. And that just really changes the texture of the rest of the game. And I try to make it so that I can play Champion and Coppercoat Vanguard in the same turn cycle. And if I accomplish that, then Champion does not just die to Bowmasters immediately, which feels like a pretty big deal. Yeah, we get eaten by Witherbloom Command, unfortunately. Now I'm sort of awkwardly off curve. This does not give itself ward. This wastes a mana. This is better later. I'm going to try to continue to live the dream of double spelling by drawing another white source. Opponent's got their third land. Double spelling dream not going so great. I do not like how this game is playing out. Like a Bowmaster just kills this Thalia's Lieutenant here, for example. Fatal Push, yeah. There's a problem with each other human getting ward. And now my Thalia's Lieutenant gets no value. Don't even get to put a counter on Mutavault or anything. There's the fetch to clear the Brainstorm. There's the Bowmaster. Yeah, no, this is not going well. I am just terminally behind at this point where I simply do not have the mana to be deploying the cards that I need to be deploying. And so my opponent can now get set up with things like Up the Beanstalk to make up for the fact that they've 1-for-1'd me a bunch of times. Yeah, no, I'll take one, that's fine. Pithing Needle, not great currently. Don't have enough mana to do cool things. Boo. Boo. Alright, so triggers happen. Oh, they're going to take out the Lieutenant instead. Sure. That hopefully means that I get a valid attack for 3 this turn. Nope. Oh, it's not just Fatal Push immediately. Okay. Slightly confused. It seems to me like taking out the Champion is better than taking out Thalia's Lieutenant there. Like, you save 3 points of life and the Champion is already scaled up more. So many beans. Alright. I have a bunch of shit stuck in my hand. Am I interacting with this Tamiyo? Or am I attacking for 5? I think I am interacting with the Tamiyo. I think I swords it despite the fact that I do have Pithing Needle here already. I think I will preemptively put one of these on Tamiyo Seasoned Scholar, though. Like, just beyond this. My mana is very, very tight this game. Like, as soon as I draw a white source, I have probably back-to-back Adelines that I will play, assuming that one gets answered. Yeah. Yeah. If I animate my Mutavault dies to Pernicious Deed. This sucks. I can't play Adeline, or my opponent just gets an extra thing out of this. This Pernicious Deed is insane. Opponent's at 10. I'll play this tapped. And pass. My opponent just has no reason to pop this Pernicious Deed for 1. I'm very glad they did. Like, they also blow up an Orc in process. My Adeline is on. My Mutavault is now a valid blocker. Like, this is not formatted to save lands like many of these current things are. Null Rod. Null Rod. Alright, no Bowmaster attack. I can't be Force of Willed here, which is cool. So I will drop an Adeline. I am 1 card away from defeat in all likelihood. That's a land that could be Mystic Sanctuary to put something like a Fatal Push or Brainstorm back on top. Okay. My opponent has 1 card, it could be Force of Will. How much does 1 point of damage matter? Probably not enough to cast Witch Enchanter pre-combat. So send in, Captain attacking, opponent goes to 7, and we hope this last card is not Force of Will. Okay, it's not. I can take out 1 of the copies of Up the Beanstalk here, and we'll see whether or not waiting until after combat ends up feeling good. Actually, I guess it's only free things that matter. Maybe I missed a point of damage. I think this is a push damage situation rather than hold up a Gonjo. So activate Mutavault. Mutavault becoming a creature does grow Adeline. Adeline makes a friend. Adeline gets blocked. My opponent goes to 1. This fetch land is off. Things like Toxic Deluge are not live anymore. That's not a live card. Okay, I was real worried there that we were not going to win this one. I think my opponent potentially lost this game by blowing that Pernicious Deed for X equals 1. Like, I was talking about how bad my position was because they can just, like, eat another hit of whatever creature I had, like Champion of the Parish, and then just, like, keep me from playing the Adeline, keep me from animating Mutavault. And instead of that happening, I got to use Mutavault and Adeline. I mean, they did kind of bottom out afterwards, to be fair. But I wonder if that was a game-losing play, because I was very scared. This is one of the biggest, like, do you believe in Aether Vial hands that I've ever seen. We have potentially a very powerful start with multiple Guide of Souls, Mother of Runes backing it up, and then 2 Coppercoat Vanguards to give stuff ward a little bit later on. But if this Vial gets countered or otherwise answered, we're fucked. And Wasteland's a pretty big setback as well. But give it a go. Now just let it resolve. Don't let it sit on a stack. Don't think about it. Just let it resolve. Yeah, there we go. Good job. Oh? Well then. Oh, now my brain breaks as I try to figure this shit out. I think it's champion first. Mom second. But that is not 100% clear to me. File goes up. Ooh, yeah. Whether I tick the vial up to 2 is now very interesting. Yeah. There's Mom. Grow champion. Looks like we dodge swords. I have 2 Coppercoat Vanguards in a row, which is incredibly aggressive. I think I just do that. Never didn't have it. Guide of Souls. And then we'll vial in a Vanguard, which grows Champion of the Parish while also giving me some energy. I'm now attacking in for 5. I will theoretically have enough energy to make Champion of the Parish a flying creature from hell next turn. Opponent has their own Mother of Runes. Ooh. It's fine, there's a land on top of my deck. A white land. We stay on 2. So am I fine attacking with a 2/2 into Vial? Probably. I've got Tricks and Mom Protection. Send it, send it, send it. I'm not going to play around Containment Priest. It is a Thalia. Sure. So I will end up protecting this. Yeah. But then that's going to force my opponent to also protect. I'll pass priority to them to let them do that. Yep. And now, I guess I can let that resolve. That's fine. Then after all that has been done, we'll put in another Coppercoat Vanguard. My opponent takes 10 damage. I lose no creatures in this combat. And we'll see if my opponent can keep up. Like, this is just a lot of power, and it's about to be more from my own Thalia. And between Thalia and 2 stacks of wards on my creature, it's pretty much impossible to remove something like my Champion of the Parish. So I think I can just give Champion of the Parish pro-white, and my opponent dies. That's also fully just, like, not counting Guide of Souls, giving one of these things flying. Yeah, that was good enough to get the concession. It's possible my opponent could have won this game just by casting spells rather than opting to wasteland me when I already had Vial. But, like, conceptually, after I clearly demonstrate that I do not have additional lands, trying to slow me down does make sense. Like, they are gaining Vial value at the same rate that I am. Alright, you're in. You're in. You're in. You could be considered. Thalia as a legendary creature will probably just go out immediately. Tomic as a legendary creature will probably go out immediately. And then I decide whether or not I want the 2/3 Tomic body or Pithing Needle for, like, Stoneforge and Vial. And maybe something else like the backside of Ajani. I think I'm going to go ahead and play the Needle over the Caracasable threat. My opponent probably has 3-ish copies of Caracas. Hell yeah. This hand hits really hard and has Containment Priest for interaction versus opposing Vials and Caracas for opposing legendary creatures. Opponent also mulliganing to 5 here. When we start getting to 5 cards, it's less likely that Containment Priest is going to be used on a Vial. Basic Plains. Pass. Okay. I think it's Champion first. Champion and Guide of Souls occupying the same niche has made sequencing relatively difficult here. Yeah. Removal spell or Pithing Needle would be real hot here. Holy fuck, my opponent has Umezawa's Jitte. That's very unexpected in the current metagame. So, big booty scale up, I think. Always yield to that. Play Mother of Runes to make ourselves better versus Jitte. Crash in for 3. Oh? Oh? Am I about to just eat the worst Wrath of the Skies in the world's history? Free War Formalware. Okay, sure. That's not the best for me. Aldra also potentially coming down the line now. Alright, so play Mutavault. Play Guide of Souls. This is a 3/3. It can become a 4/4 in combat and beat out Stoneforge. That's fine. I think we got to try our tricks here. Okay, opponent does not block, at which point I will flash in Containment Priest to grow these by 2 total damage. Opponent's at 11. I'm facing down some problems. Opponent has more land. This is not a problem. I have Mother of Runes for this. Okay, so their plan is put in Kaldra and pressure me in that capacity. Understood. That's very good. That's very good. So I'll just remove the Germ token and stay aggressive here. Give my opponent 5 life, put them to 16, hit them for 9 of that. And then I have Mom up to block a Jitte attempt at getting in. That's fine. Send in champions. Don't have enough energy for this. Alright, so Living Weapon happens. I Swords to Plowshares the Germ. My opponent takes 9. They are at 7. Port's fine. We're out of range of this just being equipped. Liquor Wisp is annoying because of my own Containment Priest. So if I save my Mother of Runes, my opponent can get 2 Jitte counters, which can kill my Mother of Runes and weaken something, or can kill Mutavault. What if I just give a creature pro-white? I think it's better to give a creature pro-white. Give, like, Containment Priest pro-white here. Then my opponent does not get Jitte counters this turn. Yeah, that's expected. And then Mom, air quotes, comes back, but Containment Priest stops it. Alright, so both of my big creatures need to be blocked. So I think we're just sending it all. Don't have energy to do cool stuff here. So my big ones get blocked. My opponent takes 5. And then my opponent can use these Jitte counters to finish off one of my creatures of their choice. And it just kind of depends on what they're playing to as outs. Like, sometimes I might actually want to destroy Mutavault if they are playing specifically towards something like Wrath of the Skies. Oh, wow. They choose nothing. Land drop. File. That is not a creature. And we win that one. We get over the line there. That was scary. How are we doing now? Are we 3-1? Yeah, we are putting up a really good showing with this deck. All right. This is fully an is Wasteland good hand. I am not sure if it is worth it to play Aether Vial on this hand. I think I'm going to keep it. I think I'm going to play the Vial. But it's very close. I think I'm playing Vile as interaction bait or something like Prismatic Ending or Force of Will. Also, a thought just occurred to me. Mana base doesn't actually have Cavernous Souls. Opponent kept their 6. Fetch an Underground Sea. Ooh. Hold on now. Hold on now. Let us not do anything hasty. Fuck, we're dead. Cabal Therapy target themselves. We're going to Ooh. Alright. Well, this is what the Leyline of the Voids are for. So we are playing against some sort of Tin Fins variant. So my opponent will probably end up drawing another 7 cards here. Yeah, no, you can Thoughtseize me. You're also not wastelandable, which is kind of a deal breaker for me. Lotus Petal. More Lotus Petal. Down to 3 life with another set of Grizzlebrand draws. 4 of a kind on Lotus Petal. At this point, it may make sense for my opponent to go ahead and attack. It depends on whether or not they have another instant speed reanimation card in hand. There's Archon of Cruelty. There's an Animate Dead for it. Life's bad. I'll discard a Wasteland. I take 7. So I'm at 10, facing down 8 points of damage. And my opponent also just has 10 more cards. And enough life that I'm not just going to oops accidentally them. We've got 4 copies of Swords to Plowshares that I can draw that are super meaningful. Sure. Not great for me. And there's another Archon chilling in graveyard. It does not make any sense to play that. We will probably just end up discarding that Thalia in one capacity or another. I think I am discarding this. Just don't think it matters. I think I'm just going to die to a reanimation spell on that Archon of Cruelty. I am rough. Alright. 4 ley lines in, 4 rest in peace in, 1 path to exile in, or sorry, 1 pithing needle in, 2 path to exile in. There's other stuff here that I can consider as well. We're gonna ignore Aether Vial for this matchup. I'm just boarding in enough other non-creature stuff, and like maybe even more than just this, to the point where I don't think that super matters. I think we're getting rid of Mother of Runes. Archon of Cruelty plus Flyer does not like super wall what my opponent is doing. Tomic doesn't super matter here for the above reason. Tainment Priest is like main decked hate. Now, how much more hate beyond this do I want? Like, am I just going to turn into Pile of Hate and some humans? I think I am. So go +3 Deafening Silence. I think I play Cathar Commandos before Lauren, and then let's sort this. Let's turn an Adeline into Lauren. And then most of this stuff either scales up with humans or is a hate card of some kind. This is a plan. We have to win both of these games. If my opponent doesn't do the thing on turn 1, I'm immune to a single Thoughtseize effect. I think this is fine. But sometimes my opponent does the thing on turn 1. I'm hoping they just Thoughtseize me, and then I have 2 pieces of Graveyard Hate for them. Like, that is fully the plan. Fantastic. Now, it is very likely that my opponent has some other combo in their deck list or some way to fight back versus Graveyard Hate. So I would not be surprised, for example, to see Witherbloom Apprentice Chain of Smog combo as something that my opponent is going to do. Fuck, they're going off on turn 1. Maybe they're now sitting here with mana in their pool. It's a discard spell. We kept a hand that was resilient to a piece of discard. This is fine so far, but it still can be Entomb plus Reanimate. My opponent tanked for a while and took Rest in Peace. The rate of play here gives me hope. If my opponent has another discard spell, they can take Containment Priest and I drop Thalia. Okay, yeah. Alright, they did take Containment Priest after thinking about it for a minute. And now they are casting Spoils of the Vault, names Reanimate, and picks up Reanimate. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm going to get a Thalia into play. That's not nothing. I'm not going to play... No, they can know that I have that. This could be a removal spell versus one of my things that they end up reanimating. So let's stick a Thalia. My opponent reanimates one of my creatures. Ooh, no more mana. That was the problem here. Okay. So play this. I think I play Thalia's Lieutenant. It's more mana efficient. to play Lauren, but Lauren has some text versus things that my opponent could play. Ooh, there's hope for me. There's a punish for not playing Lauren last turn because I could have played Thalia's Lieutenant and then Deafening Silence. Am I into Deafening Silence, or does that not matter with Thalia in play? Deafening Silence might not matter with Thalia in play. Let's get this show on the road. Launch. The faster I lower my opponent's life total, the less likely that my opponent can actually use Reanimate. So the most important thing here is that I did not show my opponent Leyline of the Void. So that is still a surprise for my opponent. They've seen Rest in Peace and Containment Priest, and from their perspective, that might mean that they don't need to be thinking about Leyline of the Void. So I am highly incentivized to mulligan to a Leyline of the Void opening hand here. Maybe not incentivized enough to keep the no-lander, though. Let's mulligan this one. So, this hand is okay at not losing. Cabal Therapy shreds me. I think I'm highly incentivized to keep a Leyline of the Void hand. This hand is just not viable anyway. We'll go to 4. This hand is not viable. We will go to 3. At this point, we're looking for something that is keepable. Wow. This is insane. I'll go to 2. All right. The 2-card hand has Leyline of the Void and a land. It is not a white land like I would want, but it is a land. That was statistically pretty rough. Now, do I wasteland this land? Depends on what I draw, I think. Yes, I wasteland that land. Get him. We're maybe going to play Drago for a little while. That's backup. I need things to go well. You do need things to go well on a mulligan to 2 to win, but, you know, it's turn 3 and we're not dead yet. So we've got that going for us. Okay, it is Witherbloom Apprentice. So I did call correctly that there would be a secondary combo of some kind in the deck. Thoughtseize occurs. I lose Containment Priest, which is not surprising. It's hate for my opponent's deck, and it's also the less expensive card here. Champion is absolutely the sort of thing that I'm looking for. I would like pressure on my opponent's life total. I boarded out quite a few of my 1-drops, so I am lucky to hit a 1-drop playable card here. Alright, cool. We weather the storm for another turn. Opponent is discarding directly into exile. And Junks and Entomb. Additional lands are exactly what I'm looking for at this point. So at this point, most of my top decks are now good, because most cards other than Leyline of the Void are just castable, and if I draw a land, I get to play Brutal Cathar and just put additional points of power into play. We'll see if we're just dead, though. There's Witherbloom Apprentice and Chain of Smog. So if you haven't seen this combo before, each time my opponent casts or copies a card here, they get to drain 1. And it looks like my opponent very easily also just would have had an early combo kill with the graveyard-oriented stuff. Potentially on turn 1, depending on when they had the Dark Rituals. So if I did not keep a Leyline of the Void hand there, I was dead to the other combo immediately. Notably, since my opponent, Officer Veilland, put a Witherbloom Apprentice into into exile immediately, that was probably a tell that they had Witherbloom Apprentice in hand already, and we're just either waiting for Chain of Smog or for mana. All right, that was a really fun league. So overall thoughts on the deck list. Not bad. Honestly, this felt pretty solid. We were definitely aggressive. We were definitely a beatdown deck. I like that Guide of Souls and Champion of the Parish give you multiple cards which are really, really strong in your opening hand. But it feels awkward when you have both of them, as like you are giving up some value on one of them or the other. And it's especially awkward because like Champion scales harder, so you should probably scale Champion first, but Guide of Souls needs more things after it to start scaling, so, you know. I think if I were going to play this again, I would just cut Vial from the deck and play a couple more lands. Like maybe you become a 4x Cavern of Souls deck and just have a few more lands. Maybe you play 4 Witch Enchanters in the main deck or something like that. I'd have to mess around with it a little bit to get a feel for it. But I think this deck is overall low enough to the ground that you don't need to waste a turn playing Aether Vial if you just have 12 1-drop creatures that you can play, most of which really want to be in play on turn 1. Depending on how much Orcish Bowmaster ends up being in the metagame, like, maybe you don't want to play something that looks like this, because, like, it's going to be play draw dependent for how good Bowmaster is at taking out some of these creatures, but, like, it is a liability to be playing X1 creatures. So some number of big booty creatures like Tomic that just don't die to Bowmasters immediately is probably nice. Rest in peace fucked during this league. This card was great. I was very happy to have access to this in addition to Leyline of the Void. The more people are playing graveyard value stuff rather than full-on graveyard combo, the better Rest in Peace gets. So while this is not good versus something like Oops All Spells, or, you know, a hyper-fast Reanimator deck of some kind, when people are playing your Murktides, your DRCs, your Barrogoyfs, your Nethergoyfs, Rip is going to be very good. So overall, I'm going to give this a thumbs up. I think there is some adjustment to be done to the mana base and to the number of vials you are playing. You could probably finesse the creature suite a little bit. You don't really have a way to come back if your aggro plan doesn't work. I don't think you get to be like the One Ring deck. I don't think you have enough mana to make that work, but maybe you can be. So I'm gonna say that this is ThrabenU approved for your FNM or local level event, but maybe don't register it for a large Magic Online event or something like that. Alright folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. If you need some cards, you know where to go. Promo code ThrabenU will let them know that I sent you and save you a little bit as well. Alright. Are we releasing this one on New Year's Eve? Well, Happy New Year's, folks. See ya.